Samuel Tunick, a Atlanta-based activist, was arrested and charged with destroying evidence after a US Customs and Border Protection unit searched his Google Pixel smartphone, 404 Media reports. The search was conducted by the Tactical Terrorism Response Team, an elite unit of the CBP, on January 25, 2025. Tunick supposedly erased the data of his Pixel smartphone before the CBP officer searched his device. Although the circumstances of his arrest was unclear, an official indictment states that Tunick allegedly did knowingly destroy, damage, waste, dispose of, and otherwise take any action to delete the digital contents of a Google Pixel cellular phone. There is no evidence that Tunick committed any crimes beyond this charge. As of today, Tunick has been released and is awaiting further trial proceedings. He's not allowed to leave the Northern District of Georgia in the meantime. Privacy guides cannot confirm if the device had Graphene OS or a similar operating system installed. Graphene OS is exclusively to Pixel devices, providing features such as duress pin that allows users to quickly wipe data off their phone in high-risk situations. And as you might know, evidence tampering is a crime in most countries. If you're caught erasing data prior to a law enforcement search, you may experience similar charges faced by Tunick. Nonetheless, journalists and activists alike may feel unnerved by this recent development. So I feel like this is kind of a unprecedented thing, I suppose. I was under the I'm completely like, I'm not super into like how US law enforcement works, but I was under the impression that you would get this sort of arrested if you wiped the device after they collected it or while they're in the process of collecting it. But am I understanding correctly that this happened before the Border Patrol people collected the device?
I believe so. So it's really hard to know for sure, but yeah, according to 404 Media here, it says that the he wiped the device before they were able to search it, and I believe it was before he was arrested or anything. And yeah, it's uh, this is a really not confusing story. So I have a friend who is a lawyer and is very passionate about this kind of stuff. And she sent me like 8 pages of thoughts about this and about phones.
Wow.
And this is specific to the US. Yeah. To be fair, a lot of those pages were a paper she wrote in college that she shared with me that was basically about the state of cell phone search rights here in the US. And it's very it's a very unclear area. So within 100 miles of the US border, and that does include the ocean, uh, Customs and Border Patrol has jurisdiction and they can choose to search your phone. And there's a very everyone this I should also mention this includes any port of entry. So that's why this would have happened in Atlanta. Atlanta is not within that 100-mile zone, but because they have the busiest airport that is an international airport in the US, Customs and Border Patrol would have some jurisdiction there. So it's a little unclear why they wanted to search his phone, but he wiped his phone. And like you said, we don't know if it had graphene on it, although it would suggest that he did because graphene does have that feature, but it could have been, I think Calix has that feature too. And the article simply says that he put in a code and wiped his device. So I don't, it could have been any number of things, but it could have been a third party app that did it automatically on a stock Pixel. So we can't say for sure, but what for one reason or another, he wiped the phone, and now they're basically trying to charge him with destruction of evidence. And um, this is where the gray area is the Supreme Court has really actually, let me go ahead and open one of the documents that she sent me. Um, because the Supreme Court has really declined to weigh in on this. So, like, when does your phone become evidence that you can be charged for destroying?
Hmm.
Can you protect your data before they physically take it? What's the legal difference between wiping and refusing to unlock? The only case that we really have that like clearly says anything about cell phone privacy is Riley v. California. And what happened is this dude was pulled over because his car registration or his tags, his license plate basically was expired. And then when they pulled him over, they found out that his license was also suspended. So the standard practice is to impound the car and search the car. And then when they searched the car, they found hidden guns. So obviously that escalated the situation. And
Mm.
um, just to clarify, when they search the car, when they impound it, it's just to make an inventory. Like, here's everything we found in the car, you'll get it back. When they found the guns, that changed the math. So now they arrested him for, I believe, possessing guns he wasn't supposed to have, or maybe he didn't disclose them. But sorry, there's a lot of context that goes into this. When they arrested him, when cops arrest somebody, they are allowed to do a basic search of that person and the immediate area for the officer's safety. So the idea is they want to make sure that you don't have a knife or you're hiding a gun under the seat, which he kind of was, that you're going to try to attack the cop with. And when they arrested him and they did that basic search, they also searched his phone. And that's what this case, this Riley v. California, he said they had no business searching my phone because that did not present a risk to the police. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he won that. So the Supreme Court did say you need a warrant to search a phone in that case. But I mentioned this 100-mile border zone where Border Patrol has jurisdiction. They don't need a warrant to do a routine search. And the Supreme Court has refused to say, what does a routine search look like? We know what it doesn't look like. If they hook it up to Celebrite or anything like that, that counts as a more advanced search, and they do need a warrant for that.
Mm.
If you're a US citizen, I'm not sure about if you're not a citizen. But, a routine like hand me your phone, as long as they're not plugging it into anything, that might be a routine search, that might not. So cell phones exist in this really gray area where we have conflicting court rulings where some courts say you need a warrant, some courts say you don't, some courts say you need it in this situation, some courts say you don't. And it's really unfortunate because the Supreme Court has continually refused to lay down a legal precedent on this. According to my friend, they declined 3 cases in 2021. The Fifth Circuit declined a case in 2023. So her speculation is that the court is kind of trying to figure out what the public consensus is. And that's really what they want to base their ruling on. And right now, they can't kind of figure out where the public opinion is on this matter. And that's why they don't really want to put down a ruling yet. So, not to get too much into like analysis or anything, but one thing she said is in her opinion, that's why we need to build consensus. We don't want to wait for them to make that ruling based on scattered litigation, kind of quoting her a little bit here. But the idea is that we want to try and form public opinion so that they rule in the favor of like, no, you need a warrant to search a phone. But yeah, that's kind of the all the background of this. So it's unfortunately there's like really no, like, legally speaking, we can't really say for sure what exactly. There's no precedent here. There's no laws. Everything is purposely vague and blurry. And yeah, it sounds like the article goes on to say Tunick has been released and is awaiting further trial. He's not allowed to leave the state of the Northern District. I think you may have mentioned that.
Mm.
So yeah, it is something to be aware of. I realize that a lot of people or some people may have really sensitive things on their phones. Like I believe one story I read, I can't remember where, but it talked about an immigration attorney who had his phone searched, like plugged in and searched the advanced search. And he had to go through like multiple court cases. But at that point, the damage is kind of done, right? And that's supposed to be like confidential information, client attorney and stuff like that. But it's tricky because we now see this, and I've thought about this for a long time, is like, if you delete that phone, if you wipe it, could the cops charge you with obstruction of justice or, tampering with evidence or anything like that? And again, according to my friend, there's really no clear like, oh, well, he wasn't arrested yet, so it's not technically evidence yet. And there's also a lot of um what's the word I'm looking for? The gosh, I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. um yeah, there's somebody was making the point about there's kind of the law weirdly does and doesn't, from what I can tell, put a lot of emphasis on motive. So like if he had a script that every single day reset his phone, it would be really easy for him to be like, no, they just happened to grab my phone right before that script ran or whatever. But if he manually triggered it, it becomes a much trickier gray area, I think. So yeah.